Welcome to the Worry-Free Podcast by Event Resources. I'm Lee Simmons. An important part of a fundraising event is having a silent and live auction. It's a key factor in bringing in funds needed for your event. How those items in your silent auction are laid out, the software you use, and the way you process your live auction are all important factors to have a successful fundraising event. Joining me for that discussion is Liz Reynolds, the owner of LR Events. Liz, there are silent auctions is where we're going to start here. What are some things that people may overlook in planning out their silent auction?
First of all, thank you for having me, Lee. I really appreciate it. Overlook, the auction tables are really important of how things are set up. Having props so that it entices a bidder to come and make some bids. So that's really important to have it. Also having items with the display pages with descriptions so that the bidder knows what they're bidding on. So those are like really important to have.
Why have you seen that be successful instead of just listing off the names?
Because people need more information. They really want more information so that they know what they're bidding on. That's really important.
And you talked about the items being spread out. How many items is appropriate for the type of events?
So if you have, say, 400 people at your event, then around 200. So it's usually one item per two people. So if you have 200 people, 100 items, and that is it's a good ratio to have. You don't want to have too many. You want to have just enough for the bidders.
Because I've seen some events where it didn't feel like there was enough items. It felt maybe underwhelming as an attendee to walk around. So can you tell me more about that experience as the attendee walking around and being engaged in the items as they see it based on like the quantity and the room layout and all that?
Yeah, so you just, again, you want a big variety of items too. So somebody might be interested in sports, and so you want a sports section, or they might want to have vacation items. So you want to make sure that you appease to all of your bidders and your guests.
Talking about items, which ones do you find to be more successful than others?
So these days, things shift with the time, but these days it seems like food and alcohol are huge. If it's alcohol, make sure to get a permit, because there are permits in certain states. It's a one-day auction permit. So those are really big. Baskets, martini basket, food experiences, a dinner with a chef. Those are really just big items. They usually go above value. So even if you have a gift card, it's not like that exciting looking, but if you have a $100 gift card, we will see them go up to like $150. Which is really interesting, because you were like, it's a gift card, it's easy to buy. But it's all supporting the mission and the cause of the organization.
One thing that you and I have had discussions on is the lighting in that area. Why is the lighting important for the silent auction?
So again, it's guest experience. You want them to be able to see what they are reading and looking at. And so the lighting, it's really important that it's bright enough. And also, to put cheaters, glasses, especially for an older group, is really good, because they can put them on and read the descriptions, and they're actually very appreciative, because women that come might have a little purse and they don't want to bring their readers. So those actually help. It's fun actually seeing people put them on and reading and then bidding.
Well, I can imagine too, if the lighting's not good, or earlier you said about the description is not there, if they're not engaged or feel like they're part of it, they're more likely to walk away.
Correct.
And the goal is to have them engaged.
Yes,
right?
To have them engaged. That's really important.
So years ago, auction items were tallied up by hand, and now things have, as you said, times have changed, evolved. So there's more software available to help with a silent auction.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little more about that?
Sure. So the pandemic really accelerated this. People could still have galas. I did virtual galas during the pandemic, and a way we were raising money is by the silent auction, having these online auctions. So these just have really taken off. What's really important and special about this is that it casts a wider net. So say you have a mailing list of 50,000 people, and there's only 200 at your event. So you can actually send that link out to the 50,000, and they can be bidding. So you can already and if you start your auction before the event, you're already going in there with money. So that is huge, to have an online auction that everybody can participate in, not just the attendees.
Yeah, that's a good point. Who's to say that auction has to start the night of the event?
Exactly.
It's a fundraiser
Yes.
for this organization or cause.
Correct.
So you could start it early, and it doesn't have to end that night either, right?
No, we've had them end the next day as well. So it's it's part of the event, but it's not a make or break the night of. So it's a great way to increase your revenue, and this goes back to how robust is your mailing list and how effective it is. So if it is, then we saw the increase of auction items and revenue from having an online auction.
And how many times has a person wanted to support the cause, support the event, and can't be there the night of?
Yeah, and they're on their couch, and they can do, and then they win. So it's a great way. Another advantage of having an online auction is you have less stuff at the event. There's no more clipboards, there's no more bid sheets, there's no more pens. So therefore, your carbon footprint, so to speak, is decreased. You can actually spread out. It doesn't look as cluttered. You don't see the staff running around grabbing the bid sheets and all of that. So it's actually much smoother, and it is just easier. It's easier on the staff. It's actually easier on the guest. And what that also replaces, instead of writing, is bid texts are pushed out.
Oh, yeah, tell us more about that.
Yeah, so you as a bidder, you don't have to think about going over to that bid sheet. If you're already bidding with somebody, it'll push it out, and so it'll prompt you to bid higher. So it comes to you. You don't have to go to it. Again, it's all the user, the guest experience, you're making it easy for them to raise money.
And I know there's so many different types of software that are out there. How do you know what the right fit is for your event?
So there are a lot of different softwares. I think the biggest thing is reliability and cost. I work with a lot of nonprofits. Cost is a huge factor. And during the pandemic, several slashed their costs by 50%. So I kind of gravitated to those. And then I started introducing it to other clients. So that is huge. And then also reliability. You don't want it crashing. You don't want the data breaching, So it is the reliability of the software from the back end and the front end, from the user experience and from the back end experience is really important that it's glitch free. Yeah, you have glitches here and there. But once it starts impacting, like say the winner text doesn't go out or something closes too early, then you're losing money. And it's, so I've seen that happen. So it's really important to do research on your product before you purchase it.
What are some other tips and tricks that the average event planner might not know that you might be able to share?
Making sure that you advertise when your auction is closing. That's really important. So whether it is on a PowerPoint, whether it is on a poster, because that then gets everybody excited toward that deadline. Oh my gosh, I have 5 minutes left, 10 minutes. And then also pushing out text. 15 minutes left to bid, get your last bids in, and then people get all excited.
What about, can it also be used in terms of like pre-event to like promote items to like get it excited? Because otherwise you're just showing up and there you have it.
Yes.
Maybe you know what the item is ahead of time, so you want to walk in the door knowing what you want.
Correct. Yes, you can promote ahead of time. You can do preview only, for the live items, because you want to be there for the live. You can preview them so that somebody that's coming already knows, like, oh, I really, say it's a party for 10, then you already know you can find the people that you want to invite.
Talking about live auctions,
Yes,
let's move on to that.
good segue.
So some live auctions we've seen be very successful, some have not. What is the reason for both?
So a couple of reasons. One is your auctioneer. Your auctioneer is critical to the success. They must connect with your audience, whether it's a professional auctioneer. And professional auctioneers, by the way, go to auctioneer school. I just learned that last year. They actually learn how to bid. There's a cattle call or whatever. There's a, and like they learn that. And so it's an art. And if you do it right with the right audience, it can be very effective and impactful. However, I've seen it also not work. It's just, you have to interview auctioneers to see, are they going to be a good match with my organization? So I've also seen auctioneers that are not professional, and it's like the CEO, or it's a somebody very closely connected to the organization that knows the audience. That also can be successful because they can do shout outs. Thank you, Bob, for, they can do a banter,
They
with
know
the
the
two.
people.
They know the
They know
people.
the people.
So
It's
they
more that
call their name
emotional.
out, like,
Yeah.
don't look at him, raise your paddle and whatever. So it gets very animated. And so either works, but I think it's really about knowing who your audience is and is this auctioneer going to connect?
How important are the spotters, too, in that whole process?
Spotters are very, very important because, again, with lighting, we talked about lighting earlier. The lighting is, we want the lights up, and the spotters also will help. They'll have glow sticks. They'll wave the glow stick to make sure that the auctioneer, they're the tool for the auctioneer. They're the assistant for the auctioneer.
You kind of just mentioned this with the lighting. Some things we're involved with as well, as making sure the audio is good and the lighting is good.
And that there's not, for example, a smoke machine that has gone off pre-event so that you can't see anything. So it's really important to kind of do a run through to see all the elements, whether the smoke machine goes off then, but read it and somebody think, oh my gosh, now we're not going to be able to see these paddles, especially if you have 600 people in the room.
If they can't see and if they can't hear, they're not engaged.
Yes, and then you don't raise money.
It's
not even the engagement. Yes, it's engagement, and it's that nobody's going to raise their paddle.
And related to that, too, I've seen, unfortunately, many times there's a lot of chatter at tables.
Chatter at tables, yes. I saw this worse right when the pandemic ended because I think people were itching to get to chat again. It has calmed down a little, but sometimes they might be chattering about the actual item. So it could be like an exciting chatter. It's during the program that it's not great when people are chattering and it's somebody's making a very serious speech. But during the live, it lends that mood to chatter.
A live auction is very meant to be engaging and fun. It's not to sit back and just be quiet. So sometimes it fits the moment in the event.
Exactly.
So we mentioned about items in the silent auction.
Yes.
What items do you find successful for live auctions?
So live, really successful items are unique experiences. Say you are a NASCAR, you're in the pit, that you can't just buy, or you're at a golf tournament and you're walking along with the pro. So those are things that you can't find them on the internet necessarily. So those also restaurants, a chef's dinner for 10 at a very unique restaurant or in your home. And then something also that raises a lot of money is buy-in items. That means that, say, a celebrity has a party at their house for 50 guests. You raise your paddle for $500 and then you can raise times 50. That's a lot of money quick. So it's a for sale item, not necessarily auction bidding up, but those are very successful as well. The buy-in parties.
And I don't know if it's exactly what you were just saying, but I have noticed at some auctions where they'll say, we can offer one more of these.
Yes.
How do you know when you're able to do that? Is that like a predetermined thing?
Sometimes it's predetermined. So when the volunteers have sheets and we fill them out, and we know when it's predetermined because it'll say 1A and 1B. When it doesn't say 1A and 1B, we know that somebody winged, like it was just spontaneous. And it's various factors. Sometimes they can afford to do it. Sometimes it's just a unique one item. So so that's great. I used to be kind of like unnerving, and now I'm like, just more money for the organization. It's wonderful, because again, the goal is to raise money.
Yep. So you mentioned all these great ideas for auction items.
Yes.
Where do you find them? I'm having an event, okay, where do I get these items?
Yes, so the board of directors and the committee are critical in this. They're the ones with the connections. They're usually the ones that are getting the sponsorships, helping with sponsorships. So your board of directors go right, and the committee, a lot of times committees, the reason they're on the committee is to help raise the money, whether it's sponsorship, auction, so on and so forth. Another way you can get items is through consignment. That means that you purchase an item. The pros to that is you can purchase a really fantastic item like like Masters, the tickets to the Masters, those are really hard to get. So you pay for those. Say you pay $5,000 for those. You're going to have to start your bidding like $7,000, which means you're only making $2,000. So it's the con is the cost associated with that, and the net, what you're going to make out of that is going to be less.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you, Liz.
Yes.
And thank you. And thank you for joining us for this discussion on the Worry Free podcast, talking about auction items, silent auction, live auction. When you have your next event, now you have a little more information to be successful in your fundraising abilities. Thank you again for watching the Worry Free podcast by Event Resources.